So, what do you say? Can we get started?
Yes.
Welcome, folks, to the AdPro Sports Complex here at Highmark Stadium for the big milestone in the environmental review process for new Buffalo Bills Stadium. My name is Dan Castle. I'm the Commissioner of the Erie County Department of Environment and Planning, and I want to thank all of you for taking the time out of your beautiful late afternoon to come out and participate in this public meeting. I also want to thank folks that are watching live stream and also those that will be watching recorded version online after this day. I do want to acknowledge a few folks that are here in the audience. First, and someone who doesn't really need much of an introduction, Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz in the back. He's here listening today, as we all are up here at the county, and thank him for his leadership. Without his leadership with the state and the Bills, we probably would not be sitting here today. I also want to recognize in the back row Erie County Legislator John Mills, who represents the town of Orchard Park. Thank you for coming out. Also want to recognize Town Supervisor Gene Mazak from the town of Orchard Park. Thank you for coming out. Somewhere, John Polka is in the back. John is Director of Stadium Operations for the Buffalo Bills. Thank you very much for hosting us in this very unique and cool venue for the scoping meeting tonight. We have a number of consultants here that will be introducing themselves as we go through this presentation. It's about a 30-minute presentation, and it's important for you all to hear what's being proposed and how we're going to be reviewing this. So joining me at the head table is Adam Walters and Kim Nason with the firm of Phillips Lytle, the law firm that the county has retained to help us lead the environmental review process. At the end is Mark Roundtree, Chief Planner with the Department of Environment and Planning. He is the person who is essentially managing the day-to-day process on behalf of the county. I mentioned a couple times SEQR, the environmental review process that we call SEQR for short, is a process. It's not a document, it's a process. And we are early in the process. The initial paperwork to begin the process was sent out by the county on July 1st. July 14th tonight, 2 weeks in. This is our first public meeting to get input on the project. We will be having another opportunity for public engagement in the fall. But the process of SEQR is basically for the county to make sure we make an informed decision on the actions that we have to take associated with building a stadium. Our actions include funding, undertaking permitting, and transfer of land. And you'll hear more about those details. Those are the actions that we will be evaluating and making sure we make an informed decision. Critical part of that process is public engagement. I mentioned the public scoping meeting tonight and the public hearing that will happen hopefully in late September, at that time frame. So we really have three purposes for tonight's scoping meeting. One is to present the project plan that the Bills have come up with. We spent some time looking at the boards. They'll be shown online. They're on the website as well. These are the plans that the Bills have prepared. So one is to present those plans to you early in the process. Two is to explain the environmental review and the various studies and analysis that we're going to conduct at the county to evaluate these plans. And you'll hear from the consultant team through this presentation about the scope of what those studies will be, whether it's traffic and parking, stormwater, other utilities, light, noise, those types of issues. So that's the second part. The final part is public comment, to get a formal mechanism for the public to provide feedback to our process. Those could be verbal comments tonight. They could be comments online over the next couple weeks, or they can be sent in by regular mail. All those instructions will be provided tonight. So the way this will go is I'll introduce Adam and Kim. They will talk about the process, followed by Scott Radisek from Populous Design, who will walk through the designs they're working on for the Bills. Then we'll bring up some of the consultant team to walk through the process of what we'll be doing. And then at the end, we will then open it up for comments. So a little bit more information as we go. But with that, I will turn it over to Adam.
Thank you, Dan. Good evening, everyone. Wonderful to see you here. For the record, as Dan said, my name is Adam Walters. I'm an attorney at Phillips Lytle, and I'm here tonight representing the county. I spent a lot of my time in environmental impact reviews. That's a big part of my practice, so I'm glad to come here tonight and explain a little bit about SEQR, State Environmental Quality Review Act. When we say SEQR, we mean S-E-Q-R, State Environmental Quality Review Act. You will sometimes hear it referred to as SEQRA. They just throw an A on the end, but it's all the same thing. It's a law. It's a law here in New York. What does that law require? The law requires that governmental agencies consider the environmental impacts of their decisions. The agencies must incorporate environmental considerations directly into their decision-making. They must mitigate environmental impacts, and they really are obligated to strike a balance between social and economic goals and the environment. There are a number of governmental agencies involved in the new stadium. Thus, the SEQR requires an assessment of potential adverse environmental impacts associated with the project before any governmental agencies make any binding decisions. For bigger projects like the stadium, involving more than one governmental agency, coordinated reviews are mandatory. In a coordinated review, one agency acts as the lead agency for purposes of making determinations with input from the interested and involved agencies. For this project, we have 40 different potential interested and involved agencies. On July 1st, Erie County did send out lead agency package notices that formally commenced the environmental review process. The next step in that process is to prepare an assessment of potential environmental impacts. Impacts are assessed based on existing or baseline conditions, which in this case include the operation of the existing stadium. The environmental assessment will continue for the next few months. As Commissioner Castle noted, the whole point of tonight's public meeting is to gather input from the public as to issues we ought to be addressing in that environmental assessment. We were at a table earlier in the back. I talked to several of you that had good ideas for things that should be looked at during this environmental review process. However, very few of you have actually signed up to speak tonight. So I want to encourage you to do so. There's a sign-in sheet in the back. If you would like to speak tonight, all you have to do is sign in. We would love to hear from you. I understand a lot of people are here just to gather information and understand the project, but we really would like to hear from you. So I strongly encourage people who are thinking about saying something or offering a comment, do that tonight. Sign up right in the back. If not, you still have time to do it through the website. So you don't have to speak tonight if you're not comfortable with that. After the assessment is completed, it will be released for public review and a public comment period. So there will be another meeting like this. It will likely not be in this wonderful facility because it will be during the season. So we'll probably be somewhere else local. We will try to keep the meetings local as close as we can to the stadium. Let's see, I think that's about all I want to tell you about the environmental review process. It is a comprehensive process. It is a well-established process here in New York. SEQR's been in effect since 1975. So we know the process really well. And with that, I'm going to ask my partner, Kim Nason, to come up and talk to you about what is the project.
Hi, everybody. So, as we'll hear more about in a little bit, the project, as everybody knows, includes the construction of a new stadium west of Abbott Road, across the street from where we are now in the existing stadium, and then following construction, demolition of the existing stadium. As Adam mentioned, there are a number of governmental and agency decisions that have to be made that are involved with the project. The action for purposes of the SEQR review that we're talking about, as the Commissioner mentioned, includes certain funding by Erie County, permitting by the county. And then also, in addition, it includes the transfer of, and anyone was looking at the plans, that's the map in yellow that's also available online. It's labeled as the land transfer map. So this property is currently owned by Erie County. The project includes the transfer of that property to the Erie County Stadium Corporation. That is a state agency who will then lease the property to the Bills to facilitate the project. So when we're talking about the action, it involves more than just construction of the stadium. It's all of these approvals and decisions that need to be made as well. Tonight, as everybody mentioned, to facilitate the environmental review, we're going to describe the project in a little bit and then talk about the plan to assess the environmental impacts. Then it will be time for you all to comment on the scope of that review. So tonight we're going to get started with more details on the project, which I'm sure many of you are here to hear. So we'll start with Scott Radishik from Populous. He's going to give more details on what exactly the project is.
Good evening. Hi there, everybody. My name is Scott Radishik, and I'm one of the senior principals and partners at the architecture firm Populous. We're really very pleased to be designing this stadium, not only for Pegula Sports and Entertainment and the Buffalo Bills, but also for every Bills fan that there is out there who's going to come and visit it. For those of you who may not be familiar with Populous, we're the largest architecture firm in the world that's dedicated to designing sports facilities and stadiums. We have 12 offices around the world. We have over 700 staff, and we've worked for 30 of the 32 NFL teams, and we've also designed, prior to this, designed 14 new NFL stadiums. So I'm going to introduce you to the project. Again, we're fairly early in design, so there's only certain things that we've developed to this point. When we thought about our overarching approach to what this project and what this building should be, we wanted to create an intimate but intimidating stadium experience for the fans. We've used the term football first a lot. First and foremost, the building is about fans coming to watch football and the proximity of those fans to the field of play and how close they can be, but also how we can protect them from some of the elements when it gets into some of the winter months. We wanted to really harness the energy of the Buffalo fans, and we wanted to create a uniquely Buffalo game day experience. So those core elements are kind of at the front and the foundation of everything we're doing. So I brought my clicker with me here, and I'm going to point to this site plan to kind of identify a few things and orient you to the site, okay? First and foremost is the new stadium that sits to the west side of Abbott Road. The second element of the stadium development is this little red building, which you'll hear us refer to it as either the auxiliary building or the ancillary building. It's really a separate structure, and it's meant to handle more of the stadium operational areas, media areas, and storage requirements. So it's just a way of orienting that and locating in a place that functionally will help the operations of the stadium. When you look at this letter C, this really shows you the location of the existing stadium and where that will eventually become new parking. So as Kim mentioned, first and foremost, we'll construct the new stadium on the west side of Abbott, and once that stadium construction is complete and the team can occupy it for a game, then we'll go across the street and we'll demolish the existing stadium, and then we'll level that area and we'll turn it into parking for fans for the future. Letter D that you saw if you were looking at these is all of the existing parking areas, whether they're on the east side of Abbott or the west side of Abbott, that are going to remain as they are today. The letter E, as you saw these little pink buildings, is really the existing AdPro Training Center and some of the operation buildings that help to support the AdPro Training Center, and they're going to remain in place. And then letter F, as you saw the ECC buildings, those are all of the existing ECC buildings that are going to remain. There won't be any change to those. When we started to think about the site and how the site was oriented, There's a few things that were really important for us. Some of us have played in the building before. Others of us have been fans in this building before. And so when we started to think about what we wanted to do in the new building, there's a few things we wanted to change. One, we wanted to change the orientation. So as you look at this building, right now, this stadium, the existing stadium, goes a little bit more east-west. What we were looking to do was create a more north-northwest orientation for the building. It's really ideal in North America for playing the game of football. When you think about what time games occur, the sun in the air, sight lines, sun in players' eyes, those types of things. But it's also, when we studied wind, sun, and those different factors here in Buffalo, it's also a very good orientation for us as we think about protecting fans with the enclosure to keep them dry, to keep them warm, those types of things. So we really like that orientation. We also like the way it abuts Abbott Road. And the next thing was really, how do we start to create this prominent approach to the stadium, whether you're coming from the north and you're coming from the south. We have been a part of studies before. We do understand where people are coming from. We know a majority of people park and come from the north. So this kind of northeast promenade was really important to us because we wanted to create a really prominent entry. We're thinking about things like, how do we identify the place? How do we make it unique? How do we provide Instagrammable moments, places for fans to come, game day, non-game days? You figure you play in the game, you play in the stadium, your 10 home games, and then all 3 playoff games, and then you go to the Super Bowl, right? So we only got 13 days, and then we have all the rest of the days that we want to make sure that this is a unique, special place for people who are fans of the Buffalo Bills. The other thing we wanted to do, as you kind of see from this rendering here to the left, is that we want to align our entrances, right, with our major pedestrian promenades, so that we had some really clear division. Right now, right, we all just kind of converge on the building at the easiest way possible. But we really wanted to look at how do we create these alignments of the pedestrian path through the parking to the stadium at the entry gates. We wanted to provide circulation clarity, but we also wanted to provide, no matter what direction you come to the stadium, dramatic views of the stadium itself. Some of the project details that we understand today that we're working towards, we know that the new stadium will have approximately 60,000 seats. If you think back to 1973 when this stadium opened, in some of the early years, the stadium had a capacity of 80,000. Then through some renovations, the existing stadium was reduced to a capacity that's just under 70,000 today. And now the new stadium is actually going to have 60,000. So I think that's a good thing to understand. Also, we're going to have approximately 1.35 million square feet of usable space in the stadium. You kind of say, why does that matter to us? Well, it's a lot more than we have in the existing stadium for 70,000. So what that really means is that compared to the existing stadium, there's going to be a lot more area for fans to circulate on the concourses. Your seat, your tread, and your seat's going to be a little bit deeper and a little bit wider. It's going to be more comfortable. So things like that people will take notice whenever the new stadium opens. The other thing, too, is the existing stadium will actually have a slightly smaller footprint than Highmark Stadium has today. So the existing Highmark Stadium is approximately 830 and 930 feet long, while the new stadium, it's only going to be 730 feet wide, so it's going to be 100 feet less in width, and it's going to be 880 feet long. So it's 50 feet shorter in length. It's 100 feet shorter in width. So it's going to be more compact, and that's actually being done on purpose by our architectural team because we're trying to create this intimate place where the seats are right on top of the playing field that provide amazing sight lines for fans, but also a loud, intimidating bowl. I know that our owner has said that he wants every team that comes to play in this stadium to say, I hate going to Buffalo to play. And that's what we're trying to do from a design standpoint, too. The new stadium's going to have multiple levels. If you kind of walk around Highmark today, you kind of have a main level, and then either on the north or south, you go up to another level. Well, the new stadium's going to have multiple levels, right? There's going to be multiple concourses. There's going to be a service level that's below grade that you guys won't see, but it's going to help operate and the function of the facility. There's going to be press levels and some other levels in there. So the stadium's going to be stacked. It's going to be a lot steeper. In fact, as we mentioned, the steepness and the height, the highest part of the existing stadium is about 140 feet above grade. The new stadium, it's going to be 50 feet higher. It's going to be the top of this. We're hoping to be able to provide a canopy on the stadium, and the top of that canopy would be at about 190 feet. So it's going to be a little bit taller than the existing stadium. I mentioned we're hoping to have a partial canopy to try to cover as many fans as we can, and again, protect them from rain, from wind, from snow. I mentioned the ancillary building that is going to be south of the stadium for service, not storage. I haven't mentioned parking. So the existing complex is able to park around 9,600 cars, and we're now kind of planning for around 10,500. So we might be able to increase the actual parking count like on the stadium complex, which we're hoping that, and it be in a much more organized way too. So that would be a really good positive thing. And again, we are targeting the opening of the stadium for the 2026 football season.
Thanks, Scott. So now we'll get into the scope of the review that's going to be conducted in the seeker process. So as part of this process and this analysis that we've mentioned so far, a number of reports are going to be prepared in many different areas that we'll hear about today. Generally speaking, the reports that are going to be prepared will be based on current baseline conditions, historical information that's available, and projected comparisons of the existing stadium to the new stadium. And these will be based on the conceptual design that Scott just described. So now we're going to have some of the consultant team very briefly introduce themselves and then get into the scope of what they plan to assess that you all can comment on tonight. So we're going to start with Mark from WSP on traffic and parking.
Good evening. Everybody hear me? My name is Mark Tyka with WSP, and I can only claim to be a fan, but not a former player, so I'm sorry to disappoint you. I work for WSP, and we are a leading engineering professional services firm. We provide design, planning, engineering, construction management for public and private clients across the globe. And we've led a number of projects in the Western New York region over the past 30 years. And we're pleased to be part of the Populous team. And as Kayla mentioned, our role is really to take a look at the traffic and parking and to do an assessment of that. So what are we going to be doing? So specifically, we're going to be performing an assessment of the existing parking and comparing that to conditions that will result from moving the stadium to the west side of the road. And this assessment is going to include an assessment of traffic issues and parking conditions that will result from the construction of the new stadium. Importantly, during the construction phase, while the existing stadium is still being used, and then also in the post-construction phase where the new stadium has been demolished. So I'd like to introduce Dave. Dave Gehring, who's going to come up and do the next piece of traffic. Thanks, everyone. Oh, and also, I'd like to thank everyone who's already provided comments on traffic, written comments. It's great, and we really appreciate that.
Hello there. My name is Dave Gehring. I'm with Popley Design Group out of Rochester. We are an engineering services firm that provides not just engineering services, but review capabilities. I've been a traffic engineer for 35 years, a lot with New York State DOT, and I've got extensive experience reviewing traffic impact assessments for all sorts of types of developments. So this is a real, this is of course a unique project for us, but it certainly falls within the line of projects and process that I've been involved with for many years. Our role is to provide Erie County with technical assistance in reviewing the traffic assessment that Mark's team will be putting together. And our team will be reviewing that that traffic assessment, not only just traffic, but parking, not only for the new stadium under new conditions, but as well the conditions during construction and demolition of the existing facilities. So we will be providing that role for Erie County, and it's a privilege to be part of this process. Thanks.
Next, we have Katie on water and ecological resources.
Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Honaki with CC Environment and Planning. We are a small environmental consulting firm out of Batavia, New York, so here in Western New York. We work extensively with land managers and developers to balance the needs of natural resources with the needs for economic growth to have an ecologically sustainable development. And our part of this project is to evaluate the site for natural resources. The major things we're looking at first is aquatic resources. This includes wetlands, streams, drainages. We'll be mapping those, reporting on those. The second major thing is listed species. This includes threatened and endangered species of plants and animals. We'll do consultation with state and federal agencies and evaluate on-site conditions for any habitat for them. This will all be rolled into a report, and if we find anything of importance, any sensitive resources, we'll develop avoidance, minimization, and mitigation strategies for the project.
Bob Steeler with Bella.
Hello, everybody. I'm Bob Steeler from LaBelle Associates. We're a full-service architectural engineering firm headquartered here in Western New York with offices on Pearl Street here in Buffalo. We're excited to be leading civil engineering design for the project. As it relates to seeker, LaBelle and our local sub-consultants will be evaluating the adjacent public utility infrastructure and ensuring that we have adequate capacity to tie the utilities of the new stadium into that system. So we'll be reviewing stormwater, domestic water, fire service, sanitary sewer, and natural gas service. In regards to stormwater, we'll be designing in conformance with the New York State DEC State Pollution Discharge Elimination System under the umbrella of the EPA's Clean Water Act. And they have certain requirements for green infrastructure, water quality treatment, and water quantity storage. So we'll be required to analyze runoff rates to all adjacent properties and water bodies to ensure that the runoff is less than or equal to existing conditions. So as a part of that review, we'll be preparing a preliminary stormwater pollution prevention plan to outline the conformance with the regulations. And that plan will outline the post-construction stormwater facilities as well as erosion and sediment control practices during construction. In regards to water, domestic and fire service, we'll be assisting the design team in evaluating the new demand for the stadium and comparing that to the existing demand of the stadium today to ensure that we have adequate capacity for the adjacent public water main owned and operated by the Erie County Water Authority. For sanitary sewer, we'll be evaluating the existing sewer system adjacent to Smokes Creek. There's a 21-inch trunk main system along the creek, owned and operated by Erie County Division of Sewerage Management in Erie County Sewer District Number 3. Based on our initial discussions with the county DSM, the existing pipe network will have the capacity to serve the project. That's for the existing stadium ties. There's an existing attenuation tank associated with that. We'll be evaluating that attenuation tank and looking at whether or not that tank can be reused for the new stadium or a new attenuation tank will go in. So we're not proposing to tie to any of the adjacent stormwater or sanitary systems in the town of Orchard Park or the town of Hamburg, which we understand are at capacity. For natural gas, we'll be assisting the design team in evaluating the new stadium's gas service and comparing that to the existing gas service demand of Highmark Stadium to ensure that there's adequate capacity in the gas main on Abbott Road, owned and operated by National Fuel Gas. So in summary, we're currently in the process of reviewing the record drawings of each of the utilities and setting up meetings with all of the stakeholders We've already met with Erie County Division of Sewerage Management and National Fuel Gas. And if adequate capacity is a concern, we're going to evaluate that and look at ways to mitigate each respective utility to accommodate the proposed project.
Good evening. I'm Chris Wood with Carmina Wood Design. We're a full-service architecture engineering company located in Buffalo, New York. We're working on behalf of Erie County to review the water, sanitary, and stormwater design that Bob described in his presentation. And again, we'll be coordinating with the local entities that control those utilities. And at the end of our review, we'll be preparing a report to present to the county and to confirm that Bob's conclusions are correct. Thanks.
All righty. So you've heard from some of our consultants. There are a number of other studies that are being prepared to analyze environmental impacts of the project. These include lighting and view shed analysis with massing simulations of the new stadium, a noise analysis comparing existing conditions to the new proposed stadium, hazardous materials assessments, archaeological investigations, geotech, and there will also be an analysis of comparative impacts between the project and other stadium locations that have been considered. So hopefully we've given you a pretty good sense of the scope of the review that is to be done. But again, we really want to hear from you tonight if you do have anything you'd like us to study. With that, I will turn it over to Mark Roundtree, the Chief Planner of the Erie County Department of Environment and Planning.
Thank you, Adam. As Dan mentioned, I'm the project manager from the county. Just wanted to mention the project website, buffalobillsseeker.com. There's a number of boards around that have a QR code. We're going to be using that as the conduit of information. You have the opportunity to submit comments through there. We're accepting comments through July 28th. But there will be another opportunity for the public to review the material in the fall. We're planning a public hearing at a date to be determined. Again, if you want to sign up for updates on the website, the information about the public hearing will be made available there. So, thank you. Dan.
Well, thank you, everyone. That was a lot of information, a lot of consultants. I do want to just clarify, it does seem like there's a lot of consultants, but understanding the process, the bills have a number of consultants doing their work and analysis, and as part of the county's due diligence of the plans that they're putting together, we brought in some of our own expertise and capabilities just to verify that in our own review. So it seems like a lot, but we wanted to walk through that for folks because not only are we presenting to you here in the room, we're presenting to people watching online that don't have the benefit of seeing the boards. And it's also, as I mentioned earlier, this is being recorded and will be available. So people that aren't available at this time can go on to the website and watch this and get all the same information that we've had the benefit of. So definitely appreciate your patience, and we are right on schedule, which is great. We do only have a couple speakers that have signed up. We will allow for other people to speak if you'd like. The speakers, normally we want to keep these to 3 minutes because you never know how many people are going to talk. And we were joking earlier, we could have set the play clock on the clock back here and had some referee throw a flag at you if you went over 3 minutes. But I don't think we have that problem tonight. So I will ask you, the first speaker is Laura Pukolski. If you would like to come up to the microphone and leave us with some comments, that would be terrific. Right behind you. Yep, so we can hear it.
Oh, sorry. My name is Laura Pukolski. I do have just a couple questions. You mentioned about the height of the stadium. Me being my age, will I be able to get up to that very top level without killing myself?
What I would say is the facility will be ADA compliant. So I think the answer would be it has to be.
Okay, and we are a tailgating community. Will there be accommodations for tailgating within the stadium parking area and everything?
Okay. Thank you for the comment, and I'm sure that will all be addressed in the documents. Like I said earlier, we're not really prepared to answer questions here tonight because we haven't done our analysis, but it certainly seems to me that the way Scott Radisek was talking is they're designing this for the game day experience. So I think it would be remiss of the bills not to allow for that. So.
Okay, just one more thing, sidewalks. Will sidewalks be added into this whole infrastructure?
We will put that into the analysis and look at what the traffic studies say, the pedestrian analysis says, and that if sidewalks are warranted, that'll be presented to the group here in September.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. The next speaker is Eric Majtow. Sorry, I might not have pronounced that correctly.
It's Motuio.
Okay.
Close enough. I know my handwriting isn't the best. I know it's a great thing that no private properties were taken. That was always a worry of the stadium complex coming in. But I have a feeling that my property will be in a way taken away from me because of the 75,000 square foot auxiliary building. My property, the Hammers lot, will be directly downwind from this building. We don't know how high it's going to be. Now, I'm also a roofing contractor. I know a little bit about snow, and I've also lived here all my life, and I know how the snow and the wind blows here. When the wind comes over a building, you have a force, and then you have a vacuum and a drop. And with this building, where is the snow going to drop? On my property. So I'd like to see how this is going to be addressed. I don't have any problems now, but then again, snow also, when it drops, it gets hard packed. Mm-hmm. Also, with the size of the buildings, we're going to have a wind tunnel on both sides of it. So also, I think that likes to be a consideration. Also, with the stadium now, I think it's going to be 100 feet away from Abbott Road, so no more roadblocks for the security purposes. I'm guessing that. Will Abbott Road be expanded from Big Tree Road up to from 4 lanes to 5 lanes? I think that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Those are all great comments, and they will be addressed.
And obviously, everybody knows how to get a hold of me.
Would anyone else like to speak? That's actually it for the people who've signed up. Why don't you come up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Donald Blank. I'm a graduate of UB 1968, but I've been living back in Buffalo for about 10 years. And I'm going to go on a different subject, if I may be permitted, which is the construction of the stadium. As Erie County and New York State taxpayers are the largest funders of the new built stadium, it is logical and proper to maximize the benefit for New York businesses and workers. New York companies should be able to match the lowest bids of out-of-state companies working on the new stadium or providing materials needed. The Northland Workforce Training Center in Buffalo, Buffalo Public Schools with vocational programs, and our community colleges can train local unemployed or underpaid workers to work on the construction. There is time to train Blacks, Latino Americans, immigrants, Native Americans to master skills needed for high-paying jobs building the new stadium. We have African American politicians locally in Albany and in the city, and I believe the owners, the Pegulas, should insist on spending our tax money to benefit New York businesses and enable hundreds of deserving, diverse locals to work on this project. 2 months after the Tops murders, giving hundreds of good jobs to Buffalo's poor is possible and the right thing to do. And I hope some people can meet with the county executive and Is that possible, County Executive, that some citizens and organizations can meet with you on this issue?
You could direct your comments forward.
Excuse me, sir?
Well, I'll talk-
Sir,
I'll ask him.
We're just taking feedback today. We're not answering questions and getting into a discussion. Thank you for your comments. I would note that a couple other people did sign up. I just didn't look far enough down in the list, so I apologize for that. We have a Donald Blank. That's me. Okay, that was, okay. And John Mills, Legislator Mills. I'm sorry, I did not acknowledge you right off the bat, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan, and I want to commend the administration for their efforts in putting the stadium together. I probably know a lot of people in this audience since I'm a lifelong resident of the town of Orchard Park, and I represent them as a town councilman for 22 years, and now as a county legislator. But I can tell you that I was around as a young man, of course, for the original Highmark Stadium here. And I remember what a great opportunity it was for Western New York to have that facility. But it came with a lot of adversity, traffic problems, off-site parking, satellite lots. There was a lot of controversy. Then we led into the Wilson group having the concerts, and then all hell broke loose. There were drugs circulating, there was a lot of alcohol, there was a lot of infringing on neighbors. It was just a real nasty situation that kind of calmed itself down with less concerts. But what I want to point out here is, since I've had the advantage of seeing all this over the years, along with Mr. Matweel, by the way, that what we do need for sure are sidewalks. I know the lady mentioned sidewalks. Well, we need it specifically, okay, wide handicap sidewalks running from Southwestern Boulevard north on Abbott Road up to Mile Strip Road on both sides, the Hamburg side and the Orchard Park side, because these residents have been suffering for years without proper ability to go up and down that road. But the bigger picture is for all the residents and people from outside the area that come into that game to have good access, safe access to the new stadium. So I would like the powers to be here to study that situation, as we truly need it. There were a couple of fatalities, unfortunately, because of the fact you've got to walk in the road, and that's unacceptable to this legislator and I think the people of Western New York. So I hope you take that serious consideration, because it's so important to the public safety that surrounds the stadium. Thank you.
Thank you, Legislator. Appreciate that. I do have another yes from Nathan Feist.
Hi, I'd like to know what investments will be made in our local communities to accompany this deal, this project, and including improvements in public transit. I agree with Legislator Mills that we need more sidewalks. I'd also like to know about bus routes and shuttles, including for employees.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I have a maybe from David Even. Glad you're a yes.
Yes, yeah, I'm happy to. David Even with the president of the Orchard Park Chamber of Commerce, and I'm a liaison to the Orchard Park Economic Development Committee. And I just want to thank you all for your presentation today and giving us some more information. I guess my comment would be just going along with Legislator Mills and comments, how we can better help the town of Orchard Park and the village, because I feel the last 30 years we haven't embraced the village as much as we could have with the new stadium. And hopefully with sidewalks and transportation, we could get people back into the heart of Orchard Park and doing business with that. So we'd appreciate, your input on that. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, why don't you come up to the microphone, introduce yourself, please, where you live.
Yeah, my name's Ernie Dobies. I live at 4942 Big Tree, and I realized it did not take any of the homes, which didn't matter one way or the other. But that main lane that they have coming from the stadium to where the ECC exit thing is, leads right onto our properties. Now, I know in the past, we're on this side of the stadium, we shouldn't have had the big problems, but I've got people that stop to do all their needs right in my backyard. They don't care if they drop trowel, they don't care what they gotta do, and my whole yard is boxed in with pine trees. They come right through the pine trees and they'll sit right in the middle of them. I have underwear left over after the game and every other kind of thing imaginable, okay? I put up with it all these years. I'm just kind of hoping that in their kindness, they can put some kind of a security thing, be it a berm with some trees, fencing, something. There's only 4 or 5 houses. But we got to put up with all these people coming right through our property every time there's a game.
Okay, great.
Okay?
Awesome. Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
comment. I did, when I introduced some elected officials before, I hadn't seen Randy Hoke, the supervisor of Town of Hamburg. Thank you for coming out. Anyone else like to speak? Come up to the microphone, introduce yourself, state your name, please.
How you doing? I'm Mark from Danny's Restaurant right down the street. My concern is, and it's been like this for probably 22 years, the water pressure. The water pressure is nowhere. I mean, we installed pumps in our bathrooms of the restaurant just to flush the toilets during game day. Okay, I don't know what gives, but maybe these guys that do their thing could check into this, that's all. You know, that's all I got to say. And sidewalks would be really nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Good comment. Come up and state your name.
Bob Fessler. I live on Big Tree Road, across from the stadium. It's been my understanding that back when the Bills did renovation on the present stadium 6 years ago, that the original renovation plan included a pedestrian bridge over Abbott Road. And I was wondering if that was taken into consideration under the new proposal. There have been several problems with the closing of Abbott Road on game days, both for residents getting in and out of their properties and also for the fans. And if the majority of the parking for the new stadium is actually going to be on the east side of Abbott Road, it would seem to me to be something that would be worthwhile to consider, to at least have a pedestrian bridge over there so that you wouldn't have to close Abbott Road for every game. I believe there's also been a few people that have been hit by vehicles while they were going across the road. The other comment I had was, it's kind of farther down the road, but after the existing stadium is demolished, where is that traffic going to be directed when they're exiting the stadium? I live on Big Tree Road, and it is the smallest roadway that borders the present stadium. And it's only a one-lane road on either way. And when the game is over, it's a traffic nightmare for quite a while, because 99% of the people go to the 219 Expressway and then go north toward Buffalo. So I'm anxious to see what they plan on doing to improve that. And I'm not an engineer or anything else, but I have lived on Big Tree Road for 36 years, and I've watched the traffic patterns there. So if anybody from the traffic consultants wanted any input from some of the lot owners, I would be happy to provide it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Please state your name.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Bob Palekis. I live in the neighborhood. I just wanted to make a comment. I support the building of sidewalks, and it's nice to see the sidewalks along Route 20, but everybody should be aware that the state basically pulled a fast one on us. They put this put the sidewalks in and turn it over to the town, and then the town put it on the backs of the property owners. And that isn't right when you got two tandem dump trucks coming down the road, putting snow on a sidewalk, and you're responsible for keeping that sidewalk clear. So in view of all these promises and talk of community benefits, I think one of the community benefits around here would surely be to keep the sidewalks clear on some form of government level. And as far as the gentleman over here that commented with the underwear coming down and nobody cares about anything anymore, I agree with that 10,000%. I've actually asked John Mills at another meeting if we could do something about putting garbage cans at levels at certain areas or intervals and some porta-johns, because like I said, people have no shame or pride anymore. It doesn't matter male or female. Whatever happens. And you know, we're not going to live or die by that, but that's not how civilized people work. And so I thank you for the opportunity to talk, and I would like to reiterate the concern about the sidewalks. That's just not a fair thing to do. And anybody who's supporting the sidewalks ought to support for government clearance of the sidewalks as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
At this point, I don't, would you like to come up and state your name, please?
Yeah, my name's Ernie Dobies. I own Seville's Outdoor Power Equipment here in town. When we go back to the conversation about the people using my property as a restroom, they do put porta-johns right behind my property. But the line's always 40, 50 feet long. And these people do not want to use a porta-john that they have to wait that long for. So they just come right in and do whatever they got to do. And honestly, it's sickening. And another thing I have to agree with was the water pressure. Since I've moved here, you can fill a coffee pot by turning the water on, go get cleaned up in the bathroom, come back and get your coffee. So I think they need to look into the water pressure issue. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. It's just the type of comments we're looking for. Any other comments? Yep, please. State your name, please.
My name is Marcus Costello, Kenmore. Others stole the thunder about the idea of public transportation access, or at least it's better. I remember for years going to games. They used to have that 93 Ralph Wilson bus, the Metro, and they got rid of it, and I never knew why, and they never asked the fans how they felt about it. I would have paid more money to be able to have that bus going from downtown or UB or Nut Falls like they did. I hope that during maybe this coming season, because they're going to start this work is going to start the new stadium probably next spring. I know that's what they're hoping for. And from that time on, getting to the stadium and back would be nice with the bus back. And the other thing too is that I don't mind walking from Abbott Lake where the bus takes you now, but it is a long walk. And if the weather's terrible, it's not easy. And again, the sidewalks. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further comments? Going once? Going twice? So, thank you very much for coming out tonight. Again, check out the website. If you signed in, we'll have you on mailing to keep you posted on future meetings and opportunities. And again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.